How many of us have a 135 or a GPS already, or have done them before? Anybody that's in here already done one? Like, nope.
Maybe.
Okay. That's kind of the consensus though. A lot of people haven't, we've done business planning and some of us have done 411s as well. And you have all these little 135 GPS, 411, and it all kind of feeds into each other, and we'll go over that.
I'm gonna print this sample form, I guess. That would be good to do.
Yeah, and honestly, if you have a sample form, either print it or keep it on. So I'm gonna run through one too, where I'll share my screen and we can just go right through it. But it might be, a way for you to start working through that worksheet. And then if anybody has questions, we can, go over whatever draft you guys start.
Well, and that's the thing. A lot of it,
I'll give people a few more minutes. As every agent, I feel like we're always a little late. Hi, Amy.
Sorry, I was trying to be in the same office with my husband, but he's on a Teams meeting and he was talking way too loud.
Mine usually ends up being the kids. When I'm at home, they'll have their classes on, which become louder and louder and louder as the class goes on. And then I usually have to leave the room at that point. All right, so I will wait for Jeff to get back and then we'll kind of get started. Amy, have you ever done a 135 before, or GPS or anything?
No.
No. Okay. So this is going to be a little bit of participation in here just to know where I'm at with what questions you guys have, because if this is new for a lot of people, the real, like, as you guys are seeing, the first class that we taught and the first class we told everyone to go to is the business planning. So how many of us did follow the business plan per kind of what that class showed? Anybody already through their business plan and kind of have their goals set out?
No.
Okay, so what I would suggest is when doing this, right, in regards to anything, we want to start kind of top down. So this is going to be, so your business plan is kind of like, okay, this is where I want to be. These are my goals and this is what I need to achieve that, right? So in the economic model, we take, kind of what your net income is, and then we go and we filter all the way down until we know what the appointments are needed, right? So then we've got this appointments needed and we're kind of like, okay, what now? So the reason the 135 is called the GPS is it's kind of with anything. What does a GPS do? It finds your way, right? So you've got an address, you know where you want to be, but what's going to help me get there? So a lot of people are curious on why it's called that. It's really about how you're going to take what the goal is and what the destination is and how are we going to get there, right? So we do that and we break that down into sections. I'm going to pull mine up and I'm going to share my screen with everybody. So if we have not done our business plan, it might be a little tougher to do this as a rough draft during this class today. But if you have done your business plan already, I would highly recommend getting that out so that we can kind of work through this together almost as like a workshop. If not, just kind of put the numbers in there and take a lot of notes.
So is this for agents or admins or both?
Both. It's for both. It can, you can set in place any goal that you would like, right? So just because one goal could be 140 units or a certain price point, for admins, it might be something very different. For an administrative role, your big goal could be, to make a smooth, like a transaction coordination almost booklet or whatever that might be, so that you're providing your team with a resource or resources to make it client friendly in every way. Well, you know what I mean? Like you can figure out what that is. So I'm going to share this now. 1 second. It's pretty, once you get it, you kind of break it down. The biggest thing is figuring out what you want to put on everything. Are you guys seeing my screen currently?
Yes,
Yeah?
yes.
Okay, so number one goal. So if you were an agent, usually this goal is going to be either a transaction amount, whether or not it's 100 units closed, or you can get really in detail and say, my number one goal is, let me see if I can type in this, for net 400,000. Right? Close 55 transactions. And that can get all the way down into 30 buy side and 25 sellers, right? So that could be the big goal if you were an agent. I will show you the sample for the office. That's actually a 145 just because we have one other section, but it's very detailed. So number one goal, that's going to be the biggest thing when we start this, is what do you want that to be? And that should be fed from your business plan. So, whatever your goal was on that should feed down into the number one category. So for example, this is our office's kind of business objective. Ours is a little bit different because we break it down in more detail in the 4 section, but it's to be the market center of choice for top performers and growth-minded business owners by providing high-level training, consulting, accountability, and technology in an energetic environment where people are empowered, encouraged, and accountable, resulting in lives worth living and legacies worth leaving. Okay. You don't need to make something up like this. This is just because this is the vision for our office. As an admin side though, this could be the vision that you help make up for the team, right? And then you can have your three areas. Okay, so you got your number one goal, right? Then I always say we work down into what are the 3 priorities that are going to get you to that goal, right? This can be broken down in many different ways. Some people will say, okay, my 3 priorities are number 1, as an agent, it could be listings, right? And then it could be buyers. And then it could be something like people. And you'll say, well, what does that mean? So those might be the things that are going to get you to your goal for whatever reason. You can choose what that is. What is your strategy to get there, right? So then each one of these has 5 strategies. So listings, what would be 5 things that could, so the listing side, let's put a number on this as well. So we had 35 seller close. That would end up being 45 listings taken, right? 55 30 buy side. So that would be in the goals that I would put down would be 45 buyers buy side signed. Okay. And this could be, like this, right? So we could put that, so that's still achievable, right? It's measurable. So we need 45 listings taken, 45 buy side signed, and engaging with 100 more new relationships with people, right? So we could add that in. So I would love input. If you had to take 45 new listings, how would you do that? What are 5 strategies?
Make so many calls a day.
Okay, so let's say if you make 20 calls a day, right? And this could be something that then you end up at this is a rough draft, right? So if it's 20 calls a day and you're planning on working 100 days a year, right? How many calls is actually needed? Right? So you got 20 calls a day, which would be 2,000 calls a year. What's another strategy? Door knocking, right? So any of us door knock. So maybe that's one. Door knock. Door knock 3,000 doors per year, right? So now at some point you're going to be able to break that down weekly and daily and monthly, right? What's another strategy for listings? Calling on expireds, right? So this 20 calls made a day, this could be to your sphere. We could get so detailed that it could be 20 calls a day to my sphere, right? It could be 20 expired calls. There are a million different strategies here, right? We could do Facebook ads.
Mhm. Yep.
Right? We could do, I want to hold 55 open houses. I mean, what are some things that we're doing to get leads for listings? That's an actual question.
Mailing.
Beth, you can talk.
Is that, do you also put like how many appointments you want to have in there?
Yeah, yep. You can put appointments in there too. So, I mean, these are all strategies to get there, right? So you could put in there, make sure I have 2 listing appointments a week.
Per week.
Okay. So it can get detailed like that, right? The other way to do this, and then you can go do the same thing to the buy side. When you're talking about people, right? So I listened to a Gene Rivers and Heather, you listened to this too. He had done a GPS completely different. His GPS was not like this. So don't get me wrong. There's not one way to doing any of this. The point is that there are a million different ways that I could get to downtown Minneapolis right now, right? And the GPS gives me like 5 different ways and I get to pick it. And it depends on how quickly I want to get there, if I want to be on an interstate or whatever. So there is not one way to do your GPS. What I would challenge you all to is that when we're doing these, we're doing it specifically to your goal. So we're starting top down. Business plan that feeds into your GPS on how we're going to get there. And if these items are not feeding into that to get you to your goal, they shouldn't be on there. And so like here, engage with 100 more people. That could be something like joining a BNI, BNI group and creating 10 new relationships from that, right? It could be add 25 new vendors to our our vendor list, right?
Mhm.
Part of that then is call all vendors monthly, right? So, I mean, it can be anything that you want to get there, but it has to be measurable. So when I say call all vendors, that means every month I'm calling every vendor that I work with. So, if you know what that number is already, then say call 25 vendors monthly. This could be something that is your, 25 raving fans. So I'm sure we all have 20 people in our lives or that are our clients or family that would do nothing but actually refer us. what do we set in place to make sure that we're getting referrals from them next year?
Mhm.
Maybe that's, schedule quarterly event for top 20. Right? What does that mean? So every quarter I have some event for the top 20 people in my life, the top 20 people that refer me business. So this is a time, and the GPS is a way for us to think about all the ways that we can increase our business for the year. And when we're sitting there and we're saying, maybe halfway through the year, it's like, gosh, I haven't hit that goal yet, right? In whatever way. I haven't gotten to this, or you know what? I need to figure out new ways. Let's go back to this because we already thought about the ways to lead gen and to create more business. And when I think of like Jeff being on here for commercial, even this could be, different commercial pieces. So here's your number one goal, and maybe it's leases and apartments, you know what I mean? And then you figure out the strategies, below each one of them. Because I think there's different ways to increase your leads and your closed contracts with the 5 different strategies. What
Kamie.
question? Yeah.
Question, if you're an admin, do you suggest that we sit down and go through what like Rick's goals would be, and then that should be what I should be doing?
So I would do a GPS for your team, right? And I would do a GPS. So like this, let me go to R145 for the office, right? So in my role, these are my goals. However, we as a team have split things out and created our own GPS from this, right? So, manage expenses within the budget. That's something that I'm going to look at and be there with Heather, right? But that is actually getting put onto her 135. But as a team and as an office, we created this. So if you're an admin and you're running a team, you guys should be sitting down and doing your business objectives as a team first, and then, kind of going down from there. And what is everybody owning in each piece of that?
And something I'm kind of thinking on the admin side too is like marketing being one of the
Yep.
one of the items. How many Facebook lead ads are you putting out a year? How are you are you getting out just sold right after something is sold? I kind of think of something like that.
Absolutely. And I think that that's a huge piece, because that as an admin side, if we're doing this, right? If we're doing 45 listings as the admin or a marketing or a director of ops, what do you have to be doing under those 45 listings? Kind of like what Heather said. And if you can't fill in all 5 of them, then don't fill in all 5 of them, right? But let's make as many strategies as possible. So, 45 listings, that means that you're going to have to get out 45 just listed. Then you're going to have to get out 45 just sold. And how many people are you going to send each of those to, right? So you can get really detailed on that so that you know exactly, which then now you can also work that into the budget. Right? So, okay, now I realize that we're going to send 100 just listed for 45 cards or 45 listings. So that's what, 450 or 4,500 cards that are getting sent out at 10 cents a piece. Bam, let's put that into the budget. So do you see how all these things are working together? And it just has to, you kind of work it all in so that this is your business plan. Like your full encompassing business plan and how you're going to get there. Any questions from anybody? Because it's a really quote unquote simple thing to explain like this, where you've got your goal, you've got 3 priorities, and then you have 5 strategies under each priority, right? But I know that there's questions around that. And that's kind of the point of the interaction here is that's going to be different for everybody's business. So what questions do you have right away?
So my my goal, top one, is our volume as a
Okay.
team.
Okay.
And when we break that down, like mine more is more of that. It's a little bit more of the admin side of it, but
Okay.
I do more of the showings. I write the contracts. I do that part of the agent piece, but then I also do some of the admin stuff, and we're looking at adding some things in. So how do I break out my 3 priorities when
Okay.
part of it is agent based and part of it is some of the admin stuff?
So that's a great question. So what I'm hearing is here's your volume piece that you need to get to. Okay. So what I would say in regards to priorities, one is going to be your administrative. So that could actually be, that could be this one right here, right? So it could be administrative work, right? Number 2 could be buyer side support, right? And what are the 5 strategies to do that? And then the last one is if you're adding someone to the team, that could be team structure, right? So what are the strategies for the team structure or the team restructure? Because those are going to be things like, do we have checklists in place? Do we have a lead gen system in place? You know what I mean? All of the things of value that you are going to show to this next agent are going to have to be strategies underneath the team building portion. And as you get to the highest level of your team, right? So Gene Rivers did this one where it was honestly, it was 120 units. This is exactly how he explained it. That's your goal. That's your team's goal, whatever that is, right? He explained this in a very unique way, and I can always send this to you guys as well, but your priority should be systems, tools, and people. That's your GPS right there. Okay. What are the systems that you have in place? Do you have a lead gen system in place? And what does that look like? And what is that going to do? So then you get it in detail and you say, we're going to lead gen and we're going to have, 3,000 new contacts. Then it goes into if it's, a buyer system. What does that look like? How many buyers are you going to have in there? Then it can go into a listing system. Then it can go into a marketing system. And what are you going to do in that? Right. And then the last one, kind of what Beth said, is the growth system. So what does that look like? What does your value system look like? And what does your training look like? Then that can go over into tools over here, right? So, I mean, what tools do you need? Okay, we've got command, right? Maybe people have social sites, like social media is another system or another tool. This one could be, help me think of any tools that we might have.
Sorry, I had to get up. What was the top?
Tools.
Tools. Oh, okay. Yep. Command, social media. For any type of marketing.
We have websites, right? So your website, what does that look like and what is that going to bring in?
Mhm.
So you can go down into that section of all of the tools. So this is a completely different way to work your GPS, right?
Mailing material.
Yep. So you could have
Mailings.
mailer.
Mm-hmm.
And that could be brochures too for door knocking. So there's no right or wrong to this. It just has to be something that you do and set all of those things in place and then get in detail with them. So I'm doing a very generalized one right here, but as you can see, getting into detail is what you really want. Because that's going to allow you to see if you're hitting the goals or if you're not, as well as your next step is taking this GPS and turning it into your 411. And then the 411 is the one that you work off of every single week. Any more questions from you guys?
Kamie, I have a question that's probably a dumb question, but where do you find this GPS at, or the 315?
There was a copy today sent to you in Wendy's email, but after this class, we can send it out again. We can send out Jean's explanation of it, but then we can also send this one, which is actually an editable, like an edited copy. Like you can edit it on your own.
I couldn't open it. It
Oh, you
said
couldn't?
it said that we needed some code or something. I couldn't open it.
Okay, so we can also just send this to you in a PDF as well, just so that you guys can print it out and then go from there.
We'll send out both and see if we
Yeah.
can get it to work
Yep.
again. I think it might have been attached to mine too, Amy.
The 135?
Yeah,
Mm,
maybe. We'll have to, I can double check
Yeah,
that.
it might have been. Do we have any other questions as you guys are going about or thinking, okay, how do I do this?
Well,
I
it might be,
did-
it might be
go
helpful
ahead.
to also get the business plan attached,
Okay.
one of those, if you have
And I
it.
honestly think, Jeff, that's a really good point because the economic model is really easy to flow into this.
Mhm, mhm. I did make this the sheet that you're showing right now, this 135.
Yeah.
I put the link to that in this morning's email.
Yeah, I saw that.
That's the one I couldn't open.
Yeah.
You
that is
couldn't
the
open,
one-
I clicked, oh,
We'll send,
okay,
we'll
I'll
send
send
a
it to you
shareable-
separately,
yeah,
Amy. I'll do it
we'll
right
send
now.
that after.
Okay, thanks.
Any other
Did you-
questions from anyone?
You send it to me, this is Brian Hertel, please send it to me as well, Wendy, because it's asking for
Access.
access, yeah. It's not giving me access.
Okay. And Amy's, yours asked for access and I said yes this morning already.
But then it didn't go anywhere when I tried to go back and do it again. It just said need access again. So I don't know. I
You know,
tried it from Derek's
technology,
email,
so
too.
sorry about that.
That's okay. A PDF would be great. Thanks.
Yeah, if you just want to send, we can send a PDF for anyone that can't
Yep.
access. It'll be awesome.
Yep.
Okay, moving forward, that's kind of it. That's the explanation of the 135. It can be really simple. And there's going to be some questions that you have as you go through it. And please feel free to reach out via email. If you want to set up a time that I can take a look at your rough draft, I'd be happy to do that if you bring your business plan with it. And we can kind of work off of that.
And I'd love to share mine with everyone too. So I went directly off of mine from this, our Market Centers 145.
Yeah,
So-
and in the upcoming meetings, the team meetings, we're going to be sharing the office as well as all the leadership teams 135s. And so that will be something that you guys can actually take a look at. Would you find that helpful to see kind of what each side does? Because obviously my role is very different than Wendy, Heather's, or Lydia's.
Yes.
Okay. And that's something that too, we can just send out for the fact that you guys can almost go off of those as well. Obviously it's a little bit different because it's office versus individual agent or team, but it could be helpful for you to see.
So as a team then, is the team's business plan supposed to be modeled after this 145? So our team should have a 145?
I would say, I mean, that's going to be up to your team lead, right?
Okay.
And you know, depending on how you guys are, how you're set up, if it's like list side, buy side, you know, supportive staff, that wouldn't be a bad idea, right? And that could still be a 135 because then it could be your lister, your buying agent, and then your like administrative side, right? And then off of that, each one could then expand.
Okay.
Leah would love that, Amy.
Yeah. So would Derek.
I think Derek might have, well, I definitely know he has it in his mind, but you're right.
Don't tell Derek I said that, because yesterday when we were talking about the 411, his eyeballs got so huge that I thought he was like, I was like, are you okay? So don't tell him I said that.
You know, from a administrative perspective, I've seen agents that have organized their GPS as one of their strategies is their 36 touch. That's one of their
Yep.
priorities, is to execute a 36 touch for their database, and that'll include, you know, events and all the different components. And so the agent is going to own most likely the quarterly calls, but the admin are the ones that own all the putting them on, maybe creating the smart plans and putting them on that, generating all the postcards and making sure those are emailed for events if you're inviting them, because those are part of the touches. So all the running of the business parts that the admin do are the pieces, the business operations people, those are the pieces that are going to show up on their GPS and then flow into their 411.
And on the, yeah, and on the administrative side of that too, I mean, your top priorities could be, you know, lead follow-up, right? Not necessarily follow-up, but how is that getting put into command, or how is that getting put into a smart plan? It could be, you know, client care. It could be after closing follow-up, right? So
Yep.
what are your top priorities this year for customer service, right? Or customer service could be one of them, and then you have 5 strategies. So there's various ways. It just depends on where you guys are at in your team or your business. And for some of us, that this is your first one, you honestly might just say, I want to close 20 units and I want 10 listings, 10 buy side. And then, your number 3 could be vendors. I want to get, 3 vendors from each list. And that could be a priority, like each, 2 vendors from plumbing, 2 vendors from electrical, and those could be your strategies. And then for the buyers and the sellers, your strategies might just be how you're going to lead generate that. So you don't have to overcomplicate any of it. And you don't have to feel like you're not there yet, because anyone is right here in their business. It's just the plan. It's the plan to get you where you want to be.
Yeah.
All right. If anybody else doesn't have questions, I won't keep you guys any longer. It's really not any more complex than kind of how it was explained.
Thanks, Kamie.
And again, if you guys have questions, come knock on my door, send me an email, and we'll probably be able to work through those in 10, 15 minutes.
And I'd love to help with anything too.
Thanks, Heather.
All right, guys, I'll
I'm
let
not
you guys
helping
be on your
anybody.
way
I don't
then.
care what they say.
Mhm.
Have fun,
All right.
guys. Thank you,
See you
Kamie.
guys.
Great, as always.
Thanks,
Bye.
you guys.
Bye.
Thank you.